So what you see here now is a 3/8 by 3/8 strip of poplar. It's actually multiple strips that are pin nailed at each intersecting point all across this arch. What that does is it gives me a nice sweeping curve, and I'm going to cut proud of that edge, and then I'll end up using this 3/8 piece as my router guide for my bearing, and I'll flush trim it using that nice sweeping piece right there. So I've got the bottom of the arch marked using my intersecting points, and that got me my basic arch, but now I need to mark the top of the arch. So I want to net a 9 1/4 inch wide board. So this strip is 3/8, so I went ahead and cut this at 8 7/8. I'm going to run it along the inside of this strip, and I'm going to just use my pencil, and I'm going to mark my arch using this method. Okay, so right now I've got my top line marked. I'm going to go ahead and cut that out with the jigsaw before I nail my piece on. It'll be a lot easier that way. That way I don't have to try and balance the jigsaw on this piece. I want to make sure that I'm proud of that line. A lot of times as you're curving with a jigsaw blade, that jigsaw blade can actually twist in, and if I go inside that line, I'm going to be screwed once I go to try and actually flush cut that. So I want to make sure I give myself plenty of space. What you see now is the arch. It's been jigsawed and cut so that the cut is about a 1/16 proud of this strip that's been around. So the next step is to flip this over and then to use a flush cutting bit, which will have the bearing riding on that 3/8 by 3/8 strip, and it'll cut to that, and then this piece will be my template. Here's a close-up. You can see that it's just proud of that strip, and then here is my white side bit. I think this bit's at least 150 bucks. It's a compression bit. It's incredibly sharp, but that is going to be the best bit to ensure that I don't get any nasty tear out. I'll have a link in the notes below to this bit. As you can see, it's got a bearing top and bottom, which makes it very versatile. And then it is a compression bit, so it's pulling the grain in both ways, so you're not going to get nasty tear out with it. It's really the best bit you can get for this. Alrighty, so now it's time to flip this bad boy over, and then we'll make some sawdust. Even with an extremely good router bit, it's going to be really important to have good router technique as we route this out. I'm going to start by doing a climb cut with the bait, which is the bit spinning clockwise. It's going to run with the outside edge, and that's going to push the wood in. If I go counterclockwise starting off and it grabs a nasty chunk, it could rip a whole piece off and just get some really nasty tear out. So I'm going to really hold on to the router good and probably make a couple passes doing a climb cut and then finish it off going against it to get it exactly where I want it. My wireless mic decided not to work right here, so I'm going to voice over. But this is the finished product. It's all flush routed. You see the strips are still tacked on that underside. So now we can move on with this piece serving as the template for the other piece. Here's a close-up shot of the finished product. You see how glassy smooth that flush cut is. I didn't have strips long enough obviously to do the whole thing, so I had to splice them. Created a little bit of a bump there, but not enough to matter. So we can just go with what we've got here. Right here you can see what it looks like with my template piece on top of one of the segmented pieces which hasn't been routed and cut yet. So all I got to do is set that on there. I'll mark it with a pencil, cut it out with a jigsaw, and then I'll put my template piece back on there, screw it, and flush route it. Okay, so we're all done. We're routed out. And I've got these doubled up here. You can see the way I route them is I screw it on the ends and in the center, and then I flip it over, the top being my pattern, and then I'm able to route that. And that one's finished over there. That's 2 of them. So ready for the next step. I will say this white side bit is an absolute must. Try and give you a close-up here of the finish, but everything is perfectly glassy, smooth, crisply routed, no tear out at any point. Using the climb cut method just works perfectly on these high risk cuts where you really don't want something tearing out. It's worth spending the money for this bit.